What if the man you married wasn't the man you thought he was? I built my empire from scratch. I gave him love, trust, and access to everything. But while I was busy building us a future, he and his family were plotting my downfall behind my back. This isn't just a story about betrayal, it's about revenge, and how I turned their lies into their greatest loss. This is my story. Welcome to Lies and Regrets, where secrets come to light and hearts are left in pieces. I didn't marry Nathan for money, but he definitely married me for mine. At first, he was everything I ever dreamed of. Charming, attentive, always asking how I was feeling, what I needed. He'd bring me coffee in the mornings, tuck a note into my bag before I left for work, and listen to me vent when clients drove me crazy. I thought I'd found my person. I was 32 and running a luxury skincare company I built from scratch. Money wasn't a problem, loneliness was. I dated men who felt threatened by my success or tried to humble me. But Nathan, he seemed different, supportive, even proud of me. So when he proposed after just 10 months, I said yes. The first red flag should have been his family. His mother, Elaine, had a permanent smirk on her face, like she'd swallowed something bitter every time I spoke. His father, Richard, barely looked me in the eye. "So, you're the boss lady," he said at our first dinner, eyebrows raised like it was a joke. I laughed politely. I thought they just needed time to adjust, but that adjustment never came. After we got married, Elaine started showing up at our home uninvited. Richard began offering unsolicited advice about how I should diversify my company. Nathan brushed it off. "They mean well," he'd say. I wanted to believe him. What I didn't know was that Nathan was slowly working behind my back, chipping away at my business, my confidence, and my heart. And by the time I found out what he and his family had planned, I wasn't just heartbroken. I was ready for war. It started subtly. Nathan would suggest I take a step back from work for your mental health. Then he offered to handle a few of my vendor contracts to relieve my stress. He had a background in business, so I allowed it. What harm could it do? Turns out, plenty. Without telling me, he renegotiated contracts in ways that gave him control over some key partnerships. I only found out when my CFO flagged some suspicious changes. I confronted Nathan, and he played the victim. "You're just so used to doing everything yourself. Let me help you," he said. Elaine, of course, took his side. "Men need to feel useful," she told me with a smug smile. "Let your husband lead." That woman made my skin crawl. And Richard? He just watched. Sipping whiskey like this was all a game. I began to distance myself emotionally. I didn't trust Nathan anymore, but I couldn't prove anything. That changed when Grace, my best friend, spotted him having lunch with a woman from one of my rival companies. He wasn't just cheating emotionally, he was leaking sensitive business info. I asked him about it. He swore it was innocent. "She just wanted to pick my brain about supply chains," he said. I played dumb, nodded, and pretended to believe him. But inside, I felt a storm rising. I gave Grace permission to follow him. What she found was worse than I imagined. Grace followed him for 3 days. He met with the same woman twice, once at a hotel. The photos she took left no doubt. I was devastated, but I didn't cry. I planned. I started securing my business accounts, hiring a forensic accountant, and calling lawyers. I needed proof of how deep this betrayal went, and I wanted to make sure he couldn't take a dime more from me. Then came the final straw. One night, I overheard Elaine on the phone in our kitchen. She was talking to someone, probably Richard. "Once we get her out of the picture," she said, "we can restructure the company. Nathan will run it like we planned." Like they planned. They never loved me. They never respected me. They just saw me as a gateway to power. I recorded the conversation and emailed it to myself. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and swore they wouldn't win. I filed for divorce the next morning. Nathan was stunned. "Claire, let's talk about this," he begged. "We can fix this." I stayed calm. "I already fixed it," I said, "by cutting you out." He laughed nervously. "You don't want to fight me." I smiled. "No, Nathan, you don't want to fight me." The divorce dragged for months. Nathan tried to stall it, claiming he was emotionally distressed. Elaine called me a gold digger publicly, as if I didn't own 3 homes and built my company without a cent from Nathan. But I had more than lawyers. I had strategy. I leaked the affair photos and Elaine's recording anonymously to a gossip blog. The headline? CEO's husband caught in power grab with in-laws. My inbox exploded. Clients were shocked, but supportive. My brand suddenly looked like a story of female empowerment escaping a manipulative marriage. Sales actually went up. Elaine tried to sue me for defamation. She lost. Nathan's reputation in the business world tanked. The woman he was cheating with? She dumped him, publicly calling him a snake. After the divorce, I gave Nathan nothing but the clothes he came with. No alimony, no stake in my company, no connections. He moved back in with his parents. Elaine went into hiding for a while, and Richard quietly sold off one of his companies to pay legal fees. I had won, but strangely, I felt empty. I thought I'd feel powerful. Instead, I felt lonely. Grace reminded me it was okay to grieve the version of Nathan I thought I loved. We took a trip to Iceland just to breathe. No news, no meetings. Just peace. I cried in hot springs, laughed over wine, let the betrayal melt off like dead skin. Back home, I focused on healing. Therapy helped. So did reconnecting with friends I'd neglected during the marriage. I learned how deeply Nathan had isolated me, always subtly, with fake concern. I started hosting weekly dinners, letting love back in through friendship, not romance. Nathan tried to reach out again. A long email, full of regret. He said his parents had disowned him after the fallout. He wanted to talk. I replied with a single sentence. You were never worthy of what you tried to steal. Then I blocked him forever. Elaine, meanwhile, spiraled. Her social circle turned on her. Her name was dirt among investors. I later heard she suffered a mild stroke. Part of me felt pity, but a bigger part remembered her, saying I'd be out of the picture. Karma works quietly, but it works. I built something new, not just in business, in my personal life. I started mentoring young women entrepreneurs, telling them my story, helping them spot red flags before the ring. The more I gave back, the stronger I became. Richard, surprisingly, reached out to apologize. I let her control me, he said, and I let Nathan turn into something monstrous. I told him I appreciated the apology, but some things can't be undone. Still, part of me was glad he'd said it. Grace introduced me to someone, a quiet man named Daniel, not flashy, not rich, just kind and real. He didn't care that I was wealthy. He actually seemed intimidated. We took things slow, and for the first time, I felt seen. One day, Daniel asked if I ever regretted marrying Nathan. I told him honestly, I regret trusting him, but I don't regret surviving him. He held my hand and said, that's the strongest thing I've ever heard. Nathan now works a mid-level sales job. I saw him once in the parking lot of a mall. He looked older, heavier. He didn't see me. I didn't feel hatred. I felt nothing. And that was the best feeling of all. Elaine was recently photographed being escorted out of a charity gala she tried to sneak in as a guest. That smirk? Gone. The woman who tried to erase me is now a footnote. And I'm building an empire with my name on every wall. Sometimes I lie awake and think, what if I never found out? What if I'd let him bleed me dry? But then I remember the version of me that loved him had to die, so this version of me could rise. I lost a marriage, but I gained my power, and I'll never give it up again.
They thought she was just a wallet with a heartbeat, but in the end, their greed cost them everything. And Claire? She walked away with her dignity, her empire, and peace. Not all betrayals are loud. Some are whispered in the shadows. But truth always finds a voice. If you've ever been betrayed by the ones you trusted most, know this healing begins when you stop hiding the pain. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next emotional story we share. And if you enjoyed it, give this video a like. It helps us keep bringing you more. Don't forget to share and drop your thoughts in the comments. Because sometimes the end is just the beginning. And hey, if this story hooked you, I've got another one waiting that'll make your jaw drop. Just click here on the screen. I'll meet you over there. Subscribe for more lies and regrets. And don't forget to like and share. Thank you so much for your support.